Everybody, good morning. This past weekend, I had the good fortune to be one of the panelists to respond to questions after Mama Joe Project, which is a PBS documentary about an African American experience of having an amazing mom develop young onset Alzheimer's and the journey that they took and how that went for them and what they learned. And so they've done an amazing job of really bringing out the sort of secrecy, the idea of the stigma, and instead bringing curiosity and building awareness and knowledge. And so it was really exciting to be there. The question that came up afterward again is one that comes up a lot. And I know we've responded to it a few times, but I felt like this morning it was another one of those times to go, okay, it's not us and them, it's us. So let's think about this. So what the was is why, how do you, this person is really in denial. They're really in denial. How do we get them to get that they're not safe anymore, that they need support, they need help? How do you get somebody to do that? And so, I other people were responding and coming up with things and sort of being gentle and da da. And I said, well, it could be that what we might be dealing with is not denial. Denial is that internal system that says, no, 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 that can't be true. That's not the way I see it. And it's sort of our protection. It's a self-protection thing. And it means our brain isn't really ready to hear or appreciate or understand that which is occurring. And others may see things very differently than we do, but we do not see it that way. And we call it denial because, from your perspective, I am unwilling to do something. And so, my thing I get a little concerned about is the idea that in some cases we have somebody who's unable, not because of an emotional or choice in not, or a brain even not being able to quite take it in and appreciate what's happening here, not being able to view the evidence, use the evidence, but rather brain failure because the person actually has damage in the area where it would allow me to see myself more clearly. And and so some of this, it's called anosognosia. I mean, and we have talked about anosognosia before. For me, I think it's a critical piece for us to appreciate as helpers and people around the individual. Does this person have awareness that they're changing? Or do they have absolutely no awareness? No matter what happens, it seems their brain can't quite get that the thing that's changing is not around them. It's not the environment. It's not the remote. It's not the car. It's not that person at the checkout. I mean, it's that they are literally changing and they can't see that because the part of their brain that allows them to perceive it and understand it is part that's broken. And in denial, if you present the data like gently and sort of in a structured way, people can sometimes come to that next thing. It's what we see with grief and loss. And so in grief and loss, the person is in a state of denial when their brain can't take in that this is the new reality. But when someone had anosognosia, it's not something that we can work with and help the person get to that place. They've lost the brain area that allows that to happen. So we may want to look at it a little differently. For me, at least, that's what I do. So if I have someone with anosognosia, I have to realize, wow, okay, so talking about how their brain is dying and that kind of thing is not going to be effective because they'll say, well, no, it is. And I don't know why you think that. Um, See, I scored really well on this test. And it means, so you scored well on the test. So the things that you want to be able to do, you can do, and you can do okay, or you need maybe a little bit of change because you're having the remote seems not to be working like it should. Well, they've created these stupid remotes. So it seems like the remote is different than it was before. Okay, well, let's take a look at it and see if we can figure out any strategies that might work for you to use the remote, or do we have to get a different remote, or do you not want to use the remote at all? Because what I've got to figure out is what ability state does the person still have, if anything, to work with? I mean, where am I? I can't keep saying, you have dementia. Well, no, I don't. I'm fine. Well, I have dementia, but I don't have any symptoms. And this is that really difficult place where it could in some cases be a denial. But whether it's a denial or whether it's anosognosia, if I fight with it, what I end up doing is making it harder for me to do the thing I want to do, which is help and support, unless my real goal is to try to get the person to see it my way. I'm going to pause there for a second because honestly, sometimes what we want is we want someone to recognize and get that we're right. We are right. There is this shift going on. The reason I'm saying these things, doing these things, is because you're not safe anymore, because you're making mistakes that are costly. And what's really hard is when you have someone in your life that can't do that, no matter how hard or much you want it. Um, so if we can't shift and come alongside and say, okay, so if they're seeing it this way, what do we have to work with? We're going to find over and over again that we're frustrated, that they're upset with us, we're upset with them, that we're continuing to get into spaces and places where it's super hard. And of all the folks that I do try to support and help, these are probably some of the most difficult cases, is where the person has anosognosia, um, and they're living alone, or they're living with control over assets and things that are very valuable. And they really have no idea the vulnerability that they have. So I wish there was an easy, quick answer here, but there isn't. But I think sometimes when we think it's denial, there's this desire to fix them. And when we appreciate that it's brain failure, it's anosognosia, we start to look for ways to work through, around, with, because I can't fix the broken brain. I can't make that area grow back. There may be moments where I might be able to have a moment of insight with someone. Those tend to work and happen better if we haven't made the person acutely distressed or raised their amygdala where they believe that people are out to hurt them. The other thing to think about and keep in mind is that if I indicate that this is really hard and what I'm going to ask you to do doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, maybe I know I'm asking for a big favor for us to try something, but I'd like us to try something and just see what happens. Could we try something different? Now, for me, it does make a difference where I stand and where I sit and how I make eye contact. There's a lot of skill building on my part before I attempt to work with someone who is quote unquote in denial. Um, because often by the time I get asked to participate, there have been months, maybe years of trying to get the person to see it. And we're having trouble now acknowledging they can't see it. So what are we going to do instead? All right, everybody. So this morning, I wanted to cover a bit on this idea of anosognosia and how vital it is to appreciate it may not be denial. An inability is a little different than I don't want to. I can't versus I won't. But both are awkward and both are hard. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, we have done a couple of blogs and posts on this, and we have talked about it a number of times. If we can be helpful in any way, let us know, because the lack of ability to be aware is super important for us to understand and appreciate. And it's not necessarily all areas of function. It could be in certain areas of function, or it could be everything. But it's important to notice where somebody has awareness and where they don't, when they have awareness and when they don't. Because what we want to do is work with what's possible, not what's impossible. Till next time, take care of yourself, take care with your care, and be careful with that word, denial. Maybe it's something else. Bye all.